I'm now recording, as you can see, at where we stopped last time. As I said, yeah, I was at the beginning, towards the beginning of this poetry terms, and as maybe you see, I think you can read it on your own. It's easy to follow and to understand, and it's brief. As you can see, it's brief, but still I would explain, you know, these terms with you, maybe in an easy way and a brief way as it is. Really, again, I think we stopped in dream poetry. Dream poetry is, as you can see here, I say it is a poem that tells a dream or reflects the relationship between dreams and reality. Yes, I mean, this is clearly because poets normally poets, you know, they create stories and tell you that my poem, this poem is a dream. I'm not really, you know, I was not aware or something. So sometimes, many times, you know, poets pretend to be saying that they are telling a dream. So that's why here we call this, you know, it's a poem which tells a dream. And I think we have so many examples, especially in romantic literature, we shall see this. Because sometimes people say, well, I'm, you know, I'm not aware of how things happened. It was like a dream. So that's why here we see so many examples later on. I'm sure you will see that. So that's what we call here dream poetry. So we say dream visions or dream, you know, allegories. Dream poets were popular in the Middle Ages. Most of Chaucer's early poems are dream poems. You know, this is an example. And later on, as I said, many, especially Keats and, you know, Coleridge, these main important British romantic poets, mainly were really talking about that. And they say, even Shelley, you know, most of the romantics really use this called dream poetry. Now, elegy, I think I mentioned this maybe before. Elegy is something like, as you know, as I said, it's about the death of any person. You write a poem to commemorate somebody. You know, once somebody died, after a while, you'll talk about them in a certain way. So really, this is the idea. A lyric poem that laments the death of a person or the eventual death of all people. In conventional elegy, set in a classical world, the poet and subject are spoken of as shepherds, meaning in the old days, they used this, you know, the example as, you know, using, in a very romantic way, they use it as shepherds, you know, and that's what I'm saying here. That's the classical implication. In modern criticism, the word elegy is often used to refer to a poem that's melancholic or mournfully contemplative. Yeah, because in modern time they use this again. As I said, even today we write poetry for you know, past and dead people to commemorate, you know, their memory. Now, epic, as you know here, I say epic. As we say in Arabic, epic malhama, which is really a very long poem. Very long poem. And normally an epic is a very serious, tragic in nature. So that's why here you see the definition, say a long and most ambiguous narrative poem about the adventures of a hero of great history or historic or legendary importance. You know, epics, sometimes, for example, in Arabic poetry, really epics are not the same like in English. In in epic, in poetry, in Arabic poetry, especially in pre-Islamic poetry, we have epic poetry sometimes commemorating, someone. For example, you have Imru al-Qais, you have Zuhair ibn Abu Sulma, you have Turfa ibn al-Abd, and these people really writing a whole poem for a woman, for example, or writing the whole epic for the horse, and so on. So this is a bit different from the English meaning of epic. And here we see this as, we say, the legendary, meaning very, very much imaginative and maybe unbelievable. The setting here, I say, the setting is vast, and the action is often given cosmic significance through the intervention of supernatural forces such as gods, angels, and demons. Again, here I say epics are typically written in a classical style of grand simplicity, with elaborate metaphors and allusions that enhance the symbolic importance of a hero's adventure. And here I give examples, and I think we know this in English. For example, we have a great poem in English by John Milton. Here, the last example, I say John Milton, Paradise Lost. In the classical, or we call the old pre-Christian time, like in the Greek time, we have Homer, somebody here called Homer, or in Arabic we see Homerus. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. These are two big poems written by Homer, and another one by the Latin poet called Virgil, and it's called Aeneid. And really, this is the example of what we call epic. Maybe today, very rarely really writing epics. So that's why it's quite maybe interesting to see maybe modern. Sometimes people, maybe recently, I don't know, in the last 50 years or so, you might see still people writing epic poetry in other cultures, maybe. But in Arabic, I don't know anyone recently who has done that. Now, the next one is that we say epigram and epitaph, both different types of poems. Like, notice here, a short satirical and with witty poem, usually written as a couplet or quatrain, but can also be a one-line phrase. It's really like, sometimes we say, epigram is like a proverb, really like proverb, and here normally it's, as you can see here, it's called epigram, or meaning really coming from, as you can see, the Greek word epigramma, because, sometimes it can be funny, it can be, lyrical to some extent even. Like here, for example, this is what we call an epigram. Sir, I admit your general rule that every poet is a fool, but you yourself may serve to show it that every fool is not a poet. This is really a funny example here of what's called epigram. Yeah, as you can see, it looks a bit funny, but yeah, I mean, you can see again, the rhyme here. They rhyme, each two lines rhyme together, like rule and fool, show it and poet. Here the rhyme, as you can see. Epitaph is something similar, really. Epitaph is something we write on somebody's grave, or tomb, really, here. Notice akum or person that and they write something about the person. Okay, and it's like culture. We don't do this a lot, but in some countries who write things like on their dead relatives. I don't know really. It's something sometimes you know. I don't know. I mean, people may not be happy. Hello? How come I lost connection?
Hello?
Are
Yeah,
you
it was lagging. I
there?
think the internet is weak.
Yes, teacher, we are here. Hello.
Back again. Okay, that's good. Let me see. I'm still recording. Is it? Yeah, I'm still recording. Okay, I will go. I don't know why I'm not sharing. Yes, it's okay. Do you see my screen again?
Yes, doctor.
Good. So look at this small poem here called Epitaph. Really, it's a nice one. Notes here. Here she lies, a pretty bud, lately made of flesh and blood, who as soon felt fast asleep as her little eyes did peep. Give her, give her strewings, but not stir the earth that lightly covers her. You know, it's as I said, you can look at it. It's something really written here about, you know, the person who is dead in this grave. And, you know, as you can see, mostly it's really romantic and sad at the same time. Now, the next one here, I say we call figures of speech. And, you know, in poetry, we have a lot of figures of speech. And we use this all the time. We use them. Like here, I say a language device that states something that's not literally true in order to create an effect. And here we have similes, metaphors, personifications, metonymy, synecdoche, etc., etc. So we have so many names, and in this list here, I list nearly all of them, and you will see them briefly, if you like, defined. Foot, as you shall see here, foot is what I mentioned before. Like in Arabic, we say in scanning the line, when we want to see the meter. In English, we want to see the meter, and the foot really is in poetry, always we look at the syllable, because words are syllables. Normally words in English all the time, or English language, if you like, it's really syllabic. It's syllabic, meaning every word consists of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 syllables. Really, this is the idea. And I will show you here in the example. The smallest unit of rhythm in a line of poetry. In English, a foot is typically 1 stressed syllable combined with 1 or 2 unstressed syllables. The 4 standard feet distinguished in English are. So as I told you, in Arabic we have 16. We have 16 feet. As I said in Arabic, or I should say really meter. I should say not feet, but meter. If you like here in Arabic we have 16. As I said, it's called, as in Arabic we say بحور الشعر and بحر الطويل, etc., etc. And in English we have only 4, and really this is, I am showing you here, these are the names of the 4. And luckily, as we shall see, luckily really in English we use most of the time, 90% of the time, we use the first one, which is called iambic. As you can see here, the example. Notice iambic or iamb. Notice the noun is iamb, which is unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. As we say here, notice contort. Notice contort, tort, which is, you know, stress. We say first unstressed and followed by stress. Like the example here in the poem, I say remind. Notice remind, stress on the first one. We say remind. We don't say remind. You understand? We say remind, stress on mind, whereas r is unstressed. Like here we say remind me not. Notice here, me not, me not. So you start low and go up, low and up. As I say here, dadum. Notice, dadum, dadum, dadum. You see, dadum, and then you start low and go and up, or low and up. Really, this is the idea here. We call unstressed, stress, unstressed, stress. Remind me not, remind me not of these, beloved, these. Notice again, I mean, sometimes you say to me, why do you say these? Why not is stressed? Because really, in poetry, you have to, lines have to be divided, as you can see here. Each 2 is 1 foot. Here you have in the first line, remind 1, me not 1, remind again 1. The next line, of those, notice, of those, of those, of those, beloved, stress where la, beloved, beloved. I didn't say beloved, isn't it? I say beloved, la. Whereas, again, notice, of those, beloved, those va, notice, those va. Va really is part of vanished, isn't it? Notice, va, stress on va, because vanished, we say vanished. Notice stress on the first one, vanished. The first, vanished. So that's why the first part is for the first syllable, for the third one, and as you can see, vanished hours, hours. You think hours, it's really one syllable. We say hours. People may mispronounce it. Really, it has to do with pronunciation. Again, we say when all. We say when all. look at the third line. When all, the stress on the second syllable, when all my soul, notice, when all my soul was given to thee. Notice, when all my soul was given to thee. You see, stress, unstressed stress, unstressed stress, unstressed stress. You see, this is the division here, and this is what we mean by iambic. Dadum, 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 dadum. Okay, unstressed stress. Again here, notice, when all my soul was given to thee, hours that may now, notice, na, because never, two syllables, never. Okay, hours, one, that. Now, again, you say to me, come on, doctor. In the second line, you said hours is stress. And here you say hours is not stress. Isn't it?
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is the idea is, we are still here, all of us, very good. The idea really is related to the way you read the line, because you have to decide which line is which word, because according to the meter here. So hours that, notice here the said vanished hours, whereas here we say hours that may never be forgot. Notice again, forgot, because again, because this is how we say forgot or forget. You know, we don't say forget, right? We say forget, because this is how we learn this. I think, I don't know, do you learn pronunciation in your courses here, Ya Ala? Layla?
Maybe in phonetics?
Yeah, do you study or did you study phonetics before?
I didn't get you, doctor.
I say, did you study that before? I mean, phonetics.
No. We didn't start anything of this.
Even in the lang, they never gave you anything in the lang about pronunciation?
No.
No.
Yeah, we had a course of speaking which had something related to pronunciation, but we didn't get to the foot of these foots.
No, I mean, yeah, but this, see, this foot and feet, and this is in poetry, to be honest. But this is, I'm saying, we work with this in relation to pronunciation, how we pronounce words, to know where is the division in the word itself. Like, as I say here, where we say forget. Again, we say till time unnerves our vital powers. Again, notice vital, right? Till time unnerves our vital powers, and thou and I shall cease to be. Really, this is a very, you know, lovely example of what we call iambic meter. And as I said, most of the poetry in English is written in this meter, called iamb and iambic. And this foot, as I say, each two sections here, as you can see, I'm dividing that. You know, this division here, remind 1, me not 2, remind 3, me not 4. Of those 1, beloved 2, those van 3, isht hours 4. When all 1, my soul 2, was given. Notice here, even here, notice really given, really it's supposed to be 2 syllables, but here always in poetry we have exceptions, and sometimes things really there are irregularities, because we say, sometimes we say given, you know, it's clear, given, but here it's supposed to be given as if it's 1 syllable, again, to thee, and this is what we mean by foot. Okay, now the next line, the next type, or the next meter is called trochaic, and the noun is trochee. Trochaic, the adjective, and the noun is trochee, and trochee, it's pronounced. And here really is the same thing. We have stressed syllable followed by unstressed syllable, as in, notice here, the same thing, which is the opposite. Notice here we say torture, isn't it? In English we pronounce, we say torture. We stress the first one. We say torture. We don't say torture. We don't say torture, isn't it? Do you follow my friends?
Yes, doctor.
Boys, are you there?
Yes,
Listening?
yes, doctor, we're here.
Or having breakfast?
No, we are here.
Okay. Well, really, this is the idea. It's to do with pronunciation. We say here torture, and this is how we pronounce it. So as you can see, notice here dumda, and here dumda, stress at the first, dumda, you know. The idea here to show you how this is done. And as you can see in reality, this is how we use unstressed with a small with a small hyphen or a small dash, and the stress with a small, you know, like an apostrophe there. We do it like this. But in if you like, in writing, in our if you are doing it in exam, of course with your pen you can do whatever you like that. Later on we shall see more examples of that, how it's done. So this is the second one, and notice here this is the example of trochaic. Notice the example I read for you last time by Edgar Allan Poe, the example about the musicality. Remember, it's the poem called you know, I read 2 stanzas. It's called the Raven, and this is the one you can see here. It's written in trochaic meter. Notice once, no, look at it. How do you read this? Notice once upon, notice once stress at the first. We said once, originally once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary, right? Really notice the stress at the beginning. Once upon a, notice on a, you really on a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. Do you see that? You know, I'm trying to really to exaggerate here. Like here again, I say over, because over too, over, stress at the beginning and then go down. Opposite, exactly the opposite of iambic. Iambic, we start low and go up. In trochaic, we start up and go down. Okay, notice here, once really upon, because the word upon, we divide it, because this is how we do it. Once up, really, once up, on a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. over many. Again, notice here the funny thing here, really. All the word acquaint, really, again, it's funny. It's funny thing, because the whole thing, as if to say here, the word even is not clear in pronunciation, in pronouncing it. Say acquaint or acquaint here, it has to say acquaint, quaint. And Q, again, notice here, there are really very funny, if you like, exceptions. And I should say to you, really, in a way, here again, we have irregularities, because poems not all the time follow the same. Here, really, there are these are irregularities, and quaint and cute, because here the and is not stressed, Q is stressed. So you something really strange here in the division. So this is the example. Again, as I said, luckily in English we don't have a lot of people writing in trochaic. Very rarely people write in trochaic. Again, while I nodded, nearly, napping, suddenly, there, again, notice, suddenly, again, lay there, as if to say, sudden, lay there, you know, as if to say, lay is a stressed here. Came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. Again here, door, you know, it's really one syllable, but again here there are irregularities. Anyway, you know, I'm trying to tell you here, really, this is, in English, we have this. In poetry, we have this. You may say, come on, doctor, do we need that, really? Are you serious about it? Well, yes, I think we need to know something about it, because in poetry, we read, we study this, and because it's interesting to know that, because that's why we say poetry is poetry, because you know, this is how the rhythm and the way you say, you know, the thing is systematized, or really is metrical. The third or the next meter is called anapistic. Again, the last two really meters here are not again really not if is anapistic, really 3 syllables. As I start, lo, da, da, dum, you go up. You know, the third one, da, da, dum. And really, this is the musicality about it. Da, da, dum, da, da, dum, da, da, dum, you know? And the next one, as you can see, dum, da, da, dum, da, da, dum, da, da. You know, the number 4. And I don't know, I mean, this could be funny to you today, this morning, but this is it. So this is called anapistic. As I said, it's very rarely used in English these days. And even in the old days, maybe some crazy poets did that, I don't know. But luckily, we don't worry about that. Now, look at the opposite of number 3 is number 4, which is called dactylic. As I said, the opposite, because of the, you know, the noun is called dactyl. Again, a stressed syllable followed by 2 unstressed syllables. Like we say suicide. You know, we say somebody committed suicide, isn't it? We say suicide, isn't it? Notice, Su, E side. Notice there are 3 syllables. Su, E side. Su, we side, isn't it? And really, you know, the idea here we say, like here we say, stress, unstressed, unstressed. Like here, natural. Like pa-ya-ti. Pa-ya-ti, isn't it? You know, in English, we say here like, you know, like we say wonderful, right? We say wonderful. We say beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful. Beautiful, isn't it? Now, like here we say suicide. Stress the first. Natural, we say natural. Now, we start high and then we go down, isn't it? Really, this is the idea, ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends, this morning. This is what we call Buhur al-Sha'r in English, okay? As I said, we use the first one, which is called iambic, and it's easy. It's easy, really. It's unstressed stress, unstressed stress. As you shall see, I will show you that later on when we study poems. And I will ask you, in the exam, I will ask you to divide, to scan a line, and I will show you that. Really, it's easy. We will learn it. It'll be easy. Maybe next time I will show you, I will try to learn how to draw here on the screen, and I will do it with you here on the screen. Okay?
Doctor?
Yeah?
What do you mean that we will scan the line, that we will say which kind of foot it has?
Yes, I will give you that in the exam, and 99.9 is iambic, so you don't need to worry. Okay? Really, it's I will teach you this. I will give you many examples. Every poem, by the way, when we come to reading poetry, every poem I will give you examples, and I will scan the lines with you. At the end, everybody will be happy with it, because most of the time, all the time, my students, all of them, really, all of them liked it. And hardly anyone did not do that. It's easy. I will show you later, okay? Don't worry. So now I go back again to say the kind of meter, or what we call here really the foot, the kind of foot. Again here, notice, meter, the repetition of sound patterns that creates a rhythm in poetry. As we say, again, I use the word meter or al-bahr. And again, we say in Arabic, we say sha'r al-taf'ila. Al-taf'ila, really, al-taf'ila is this what we call foot. Because here you have, really, we say fa'ulun, mafa'ilu, fa'ilatu. And this is fa'ulun, fa'ulun, mafa'ilu. You know, this is the idea. Each one fa'ulun, fa'ulun, fa'ulun. This is the same thing here. Really, this is what we call in Arabic. This is what we do exactly. Have you studied that in school? Ala?
Yes, we studied it at school.
We studied this in Arabic at school?
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I'm happy to hear it. Yes. Yeah, this is really interesting because poets have to follow these. That's why they become, you know, they are able to use this. So notice the patterns are based on the nature of syllables and the presence and absence of stresses. The meter in a poem is classified according to the predominant foot and the number of feet in the line. And here I give the list of these classifications. Like, for example, if you have one line with 1 foot, we call this monometer. Monometer means a meter with 1 foot. Mono, 1 meter, one foot in a meter. Diameter means 2, again, 2 feet in a line. Diameter. Tri means 3. Trimeter, 3 feet. That means each line has 3. Tetra means 4. Really, again, the same thing, the one I was reading up here. All this is called tetra because 1, 2, 3, 4, right? In English, whereas here we have 8. Notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? This is really terrible. 8, which is here, as you can see, the last one, which is octameter. In English, most poetry is tetra and penta, means 4 and 5. So tetrameter means 4 feet, pentameter 5, hexa 6, and hepta 7, and octa 8. Mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa. Okay? These words originally from Latin. From Latin. Mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, etc. I think it's clear, correct? So you have to say to me, for example, you say this line is an iambic tetrameter. This is iambic because unstressed stress, and tetra because 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You say to me, this line is an iambic tetrameter. Iambic tetrameter. Sometimes you say, for example, here you say trochaic octameter, because this is trochee, because stress, unstressed, and 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Okay? And really, this is the idea. I'm sure later on we will see this. It'll become clear, ladies and gentlemen. Please don't be frightened. It's going to be nice and you will enjoy it. I'm sure you will like it. Now, free verse, and I think we have seen that before maybe. Free verse is a verse, is as I said, is a verse which is really, as we said, which has no meter, really. Which has no meter. Notice here. Like traditional verse, it's printed in short lines instead of with the continuity of prose. It's unrhymed poetry with lines of varying length and containing no specific metrical pattern, but that tries to capture the rhythm of everyday speech. The form allows a poet. Actually, I can show you an example of this. If you give me just a second, I will show you this in a second, okay? Right, I will show you quickly an example of that because I gave this yesterday to in my class, in American survey. I will show you this here. Yeah, very good. It's here. Right now I will share. Where is it? Yeah. Right. Let me show you this. Look at this. Can you see my screen, boys and girls?
Yes, doctor.
Let me see. Are we still recording? Yes, very good. Very good. We are. Very good. Yeah. Right. Where is the... Can you see it again? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, look at this line here. Look at this example. A poem by Walt Whitman, an American poet. Look at this. You see, this is really, sometimes it's very funny. Look at this poetry. Huh? Look at that. So many strange lines, no meter, nothing. Look at it. Short lines, ones, longer ones. Even here you have two lines to make one. And notice, very, very funny, disorganized way. And you can see here again, this is here, no rhyme, nothing. You read this, the way you read this, it's like prose. Really, it's like prose. Look at that. You see, this is poetry. And you say, come on, is this poetry? No, to me, as I was saying this to my students yesterday, because I gave them this poem yesterday, you say, come on, why, is this poetry? You are really, when you read it, it's like prose, absolutely like prose, there's no difference whatsoever. It's like someone telling a story, exactly like telling a story. So that's why I think, this is what we mean here in my example, as I say, free verse, which is, it has no meter, nothing. Again, lines with varying length, sometimes long, sometimes short, very long. Again, no rhyme, notice unrhymed, and so on. Notice specific metrical pattern, no. Again, maybe sometimes they try to show some rhythm. Here, for example, he wants to show some rhythm here when he says, for example, like here, to say, others will enter the gates of the ferry and cross from shore to shore. Others will watch the run of the flood tide. Others will see the shipping of Manhattan, blah, blah, blah. Others will see the islands and so on. In a way here, the poet tries to show some kind of, rhythm or to some extent, really, some rhythmical effect. But to me, really, this is very, very strange poetry. I would, to me, honestly, I wouldn't call this poetry. But anyway, they call it free verse. And even in Arabic today, in modern time, really, you have so many people actually writing in free verse because it's easier to write in free verse, isn't it? And I think if you people here, some of you here, people may start writing poetry, I'm sure later on you will send me some examples. And yeah, people originally, start to write poetry. In fact, I have many students last term and the terms before, many students send me their poems, and most of the time they start with free verse poetry because sometimes they find it difficult to use rhyme. But when you use rhyme, it becomes really nice. And if you like, I can show you later some of those examples. Really, maybe. Yeah, I'm looking for examples here for those Pope. You know, really, they are really very interesting. Maybe I will share some of those with you later, because it's always interesting to see how people really show this in a very nice way, and really would be very good poetry. Anyway, this is not very important at the moment. Look at the next here. We say half rhyme. Again, we say because in originally the full rhyme is something completely clear, whereas half rhyme, like when you say here, escaped and scooped, which is here PED and PED, but really in real sense we don't say this is rhyme, because rhyme is to do with the sound, really with the sound, not with the letter, not with the syllable, sorry, the exact letters. So notice here when we say when consonants replaces rhythm or rhyme, it's called half rhyme. So here we say consonants, not vowels. In poetry, like we say, it occurs in poetry with words appearing at the ends of two or more lines which have similar final consonant sounds, but have final vowel sounds that differ. Like, for example, A, we say is K, A, this is the vowel, whereas Ku, O, which is the vowel. So here, different. But the P, E, D, these are the consonant P, consonant P, and E and D. Well, E is not consonant, but the P and D, okay? So really this is what we call half rhyme, but you know, we don't worry about it. A heroic couplet, again, I think it's very easy. We have two couples. I think I mentioned last time, when you have a poem written always in 2 lines, each 2 lines rhyme together. Notice a pair of 10-syllable lines, iambic pentameter, that rhyme, mostly written in iambic. And pentameter means 5 feet, and 10-syllable line, iambic pentameter, that rhyme. A poem as a whole can be written in a sequence of heroic couplets. This form has been used by many English poets, starting with Chaucer, Spenser, Shakespeare, Donne, Byron, and so on. Really, we have so many people writing in heroic couplet. Couplet means 2, and heroic really is to do with tragedy and hero, meaning serious poetry, really serious poetry, and written many times by people, great writers in English, like these names: Chaucer, Spenser, Shakespeare, Donne, Byron, Dryden, Alexander Pope, and so on. These people have written mostly Alexander Pope. I will show you maybe later on examples of that. All his poetry is written in again in couplets. That's what we call heroic couplet. Now, irony, I think we know irony in English is a way of writing in which what is meant is completely or contrary to what is stated. You know? So sometimes you say something, but you mean the opposite. You say something, you mean the opposite. And this is really what sometimes we say. We do this. We say it in a funny way. You know, that's why we say this is ironical, meaning you are sarcastic, means you are really laughing at me. You are not saying the truth, you know. And this is the idea here. We say, sometimes you say to people, don't be ironical, means don't mock me, don't laugh at me. You know, when you say to somebody who is really terrible, you say, oh, you are a lovely person, and really you mean the opposite. You say, you mean really you are a terrible man. So really, this is the idea. We use this in English many times, you know, in writing and in poetry, we use this irony. And I think in Arabic we say this as sukhriya, and sometimes even we say ash-shi'r as-sakhir, which is the same. We say satirical poetry, and I think we say this a lot. Really in writing, and we have many examples in the language, and that's why we have here, for example, 3 types of irony: irony of situation, irony, again dramatic irony, or as you can see, verbal irony. In irony of situation, the result of an action is the reverse of what the actor expected. Like Macbeth murders the king, hoping that in becoming king, he will achieve great happiness. Actually, Macbeth never knows another moment of peace, and finally is beheaded for his murderous act. You know, this is the irony of situation. You do something. Are you still there, boys and girls?
Doctor,
Yeah?
I think you didn't change the pages with us, or the internet is with me. I tried to refresh it, but the page didn't change.
I have you here with me. I don't know.
Maybe from my internet. Okay, thank you.
I have every. Sorry?
I mean, where you are reading, the page didn't change.
Oh,
Yes.
I see. Oh, maybe I will. Yeah, I'll share it. I'll share it again to see because. Yeah. Are you okay now?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, irony here, as you can see, as I say, really, in English we have these 3 different types of ironies, as you see. Irony of situation: when you do something you expect to be happy, you know, and then at the end you are not, and that's what we say. We say, what a shame. Like for example, in the necklace. Remember last year I gave you the necklace? Matilde borrowed and went to the party, or borrowed the necklace to go to the party and to be very happy and attractive woman. But at the end, she was miserable. Isn't it? Hello?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. So this is what we call irony of situation. You do something in the hope that you will be fine, but it turns out to be miserable. So again, we say dramatic irony. When we know here, we say the audience knows something that the characters in the drama do not. Like here on stage, when you see people, when you are watching a play on stage, you as the audience, you know what is going to happen, whereas the character on the stage, you know, does not. And that's the idea. The audience knows something that the characters in the drama do not. For example, the identity of the murderer in the crime thriller may be known to the audience long before the mystery is solved. You know, this is the idea, because you know who killed who, but in the play itself, the character does not. So that's what we call dramatic irony. When you as the audience, you know something, whereas the actor on the stage, you know, does not. And verbal irony is direct. Notice here, the contrast is, you know, between the literal meaning of what is said and what is meant. And this is what you really directly, when you say, when you see, for example, something really very terrible or something very ugly, you say, oh, this is lovely. And you really mean the opposite. You know, this is what we say, verbal. Or even when you say to someone, oh yeah, I like you, and you mean really, I hate you, you know? So this is what we call verbal. A character may refer to a plan as brilliant, while actually meaning that he, she thinks that the plan is foolish, and so on. Sarcasm is part of irony, really. It's a form of, you know, we say to somebody, you say, oh, come on, don't be sarcastic. Means don't laugh at me, don't mock me, you know. And we see this all the time in poetry and in writing. Yeah, the next metaphor, and I think we know this, in Arabic we say metaphor al-isti'ara. Al-isti'ara, we say this again in Arabic, we use it all the time in poetry. You know, like when you say a figure of speech wherein a comparison is made between two unlike entities without the use of the words like or as. Okay? For example, you know, we say, you know, a rose came to me today, this morning. One lovely rose visited me today. What do I mean?
A wonderful girl or lady.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. This is exactly, Anna. Thank you very much. Yeah, really, this is what I mean. You know, I didn't want to say a lovely woman came to me today, for example, or you look at someone, you say, oh wow, what a lovely, for example, rose or whatever. So here you didn't say the person, you used something. You didn't say you look like a rose, or you smile like a flower, or you walk as a cloud, you know, or you smile as the sun, or you shine as the moon. You see, we don't use as or like. And you say, you, for example, you are, for example, you say, you are the moon shining to me. I love you because you are, etc. You know, so this is what we use here, metaphor. Notice, metaphors suggest the essence of the first object by identifying it with certain qualities of the second object. Like here, for example, out of the chimney of the cart house, a greyhound of smoke leapt and chased the northwest wind. Notice here the, you know, this this example. Of course, I got this from the book from which I copied all these ideas. You know, comparing smoke to a greyhound, to a dog. So he said, as a greyhound of smoke leapt. So he's using the name a greyhound, a kind of dog. And smoke, you know, he's comparing smoke to a greyhound, to a dog, which is very strange, you know, metaphor. Always in English, we always have metaphors. The example I gave you last time, yeah, I love my example, the garden. You know, the poem I showed you, you can see it here. You know, when I say, there is a garden in her face, where roses and white lilies grow, the heavenly paradise in that place, wherein all pleasant fruits do flow. Those cherry grow, which none may buy. You know, again here, notice he's comparing and borrowing all these metaphors. You know, the garden is a metaphor for her beauty. When you say there is a garden in her face, right? And really, this is what we mean. Whereas, for example, the last one, he said, her eyes like angels. heck angels. Here is not a metaphor, it's a simile. Because in simile we use words as or like. Like again, he said, her brows like bended bows. You see? Again, in a way, you know, this is always done in English poetry all the time, and that's why really writers always use that. Now, metaphysical poetry is a term we use really for again in the old days in 17th century, mostly 17th century poetry. Really, which is sometimes we say metaphysical means very imaginative, very strange, if you like, very far-fetched, very, very far-fetched. A term used to refer to the poetry of Donne and other 17th century poets as Herbert de Crashaw, Vaughan, Marvell, and many other writers. The poems are often written in knotted sentences in which it's hard to trace the line of the argument, and the argument itself is often involved with wide leaps from one idea to idea. The image is extraordinary, making the most unexpected comparison between things. And I will show you here, I think we have an example of that. I will show you this in a minute. Where is it? Yeah, here, John Donne. Look here in the same page 21. I will read this for you later. Page 22, a poem called The Flea. The Flea. And I think this is a very amazing example of metaphysical poetry, because here the idea is very strange and unbelievably unusual poem. Later on, I will show you this example later, and I think it's very, very nice example of what we call metaphysical poetry. I'm not going to tell you the story of the poem now because we don't have really time for this. But remember, I will give you this as an example of what we call metaphysical poetry, which is very strange images, or the images are really far-fetched, unbelievably done. Now, narrative poetry is a poetry which tells a story. I think it's very easy. You know, here again we say the two basic types are epic and ballad. Poetry as a whole, I think it's very easy. Read that on your own. Octave is an 8-line stanza. I think again that doesn't need explanation. Ode, an elaborate epic poem in praise of a person or something divine or some noble idea. Again, sometimes in Arabic they call this unshuda, al-unshuda, and we have so many odes in romantic poetry. They use the word ode, and I don't know, in Arabic we call this unshuda. I don't know, it's like even we say it's like a song, really. It's a lyric. Actually, even the word lyric can be described as unshuda, if you like. Okay. Now the word again, onomatopoeia, which is the words here, the use of words that supposedly mimic their meaning in their sound. For example, the word boom, click, plop, you know, meaning the sound here means the same meaning. You know, say boom, because this is the meaning of boom is the sound, and click, 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 and plop, plop, plop is the meaning here, is the same of the sound. And that's why I say onomatopoeia, which is the meaning is the same sound. Like we say buzz, buzzword, we say buzz, right? You know, this is the word buzz is, again, you say, give me a buzz, means ring me, give me a phone call. And really, because the word buzz is the sound itself. And the same word here, we call this onomatopoeia. And again, we have so many other really, like when we say here, oxymoron, here like a combination of one syntactical unit of contradictory terms that seem to conceal or to cancel each other. or really meaning contradiction, contradictory. Like, for example, here, such as used by Romeo and Juliet in Act 1, Scene 1 of Shakespeare in Romeo and Juliet, when she said, why then, oh brawling love, oh loving hate, oh heavenly lightness, serious vanity. How can you say loving hate? You know, brawling love? You know, opposite, isn't it? Because I don't know, in love you don't brawl, and in love you don't hate, or in hate you don't love. You understand? Hello?
Yes, yes, doctor.
Yeah, you see, this is what we mean by this self-contradictory, unbelievably contradictory. But this is done. Shakespeare did this. You know, he said, oh, brawling love, oh, loving hate. You know, this is what you call oxymoron. Oxymoron, meaning, you know, self-contradictory or unbelievably contradictory, you know, statement. Or even like when you say paradoxical, because the same thing, the next one, paradoxical or paradox, a self-contradictory statement. Like when you say here, notice, a self-contradictory statement, a statement that appears illogical or contradictory. It contradicts itself at first, but actually points to an underlying truth. Like when you say less is more. How can you say less is more? Less, the opposite of more, and more is opposite of less. So how can you say, yes, less is more? Now, less is more is an example. And again, you say, for example, an instance is the conclusion of John Donne's sonnet, Death. He said, be not proud. One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. What? Death, thou shalt die? Die, how? You know, death is death. And how can dying is, you know, notice here we can't reconcile the idea of death with the idea of death dying in any logical way. This paradox is used because it's the only way in which Donne can come to terms with the difficult criteria or difficult idea or Christian idea of life after death. Paradox gives us a means of the writer getting on top of complicated ideas. You know, when you really want to give something absolutely crazy to understand and difficult to understand and difficult to appreciate, when you say less is more, for example, when you are really have nothing, you only have very little, but you say, ah, yeah, this very little is too much. This less is more, meaning, yeah, when you are really very poor and you have absolutely nothing, and when you are given 1 real, you say, oh, 1 real is a lot of money. You understand? So this is really what we mean by paradox. Again, self-contradictory statement. Only 2 minutes and then I will stop. Personification, I think we know this. Personification, when you personify, like a figure of speech that gives human qualities to abstract ideas, animals, or anything. Anything inhuman, if you give anything inhuman, you make it, we say also personification. Like, as I said to you, you know, this morning, one lovely rose walked into my room. A rose walked. Well, roses don't walk, right? I meant, for example, as I said, a young person came to me, but I gave the rose a figure of speech, which is personification. I gave the rose the human quality of walking. Or the moon was talking to me last night. You know, the moon, my shining moon was talking to me last night. You know, again here, I mean my loved one, and so on. So I gave I gave a human quality to the moon. And this is what we call personal personification, a figure of speech that gives human qualities to abstract, either abstract or animals or inanimate or anything. Here to autumn, which is maybe these days in many countries autumn starts. Keats describes autumn as a harvester, as a man who's harvesting. Notice sitting careless on a granary floor, on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep. He is personifying a season. Personifications differ in degree to which they ask the reader actually to visualize the literal term in a human form. So really, as you can see here, I'm trying to explain all this in a very clear way, and I think they should be clear to you. I know you may ask me, Doctor, what are we going to do with this? Ala, isn't it?
Yes.
You say, are we going to memorize this, Doctor? Are you serious? Do you mean it really? Well,
just understand it.
Sorry?
We should just understand it, I think.
Yeah, I think, it's to get the idea, because, today, these days, in the final exam, or in the midterm, I will ask you to explain some of those, but I hope that you will not copy them from here, because if you copy them from here, then it will be clear as plagiarism. But I want you to paraphrase them for me, to explain them in a way. Okay? So really, this is the idea I want to say today. Now, any question, anything?
Thank you, T. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, very good. All of you are here. I'm very happy that you are all here. Any question, ladies and girls? Ala, Ammar is here. Ammar, you were away last time. Are you here now? Yeah, because I see all your names here. Ammar, Ala, Ammar, Anas, Hajar, Ismail, Layla, Nabiha, Reem, and Sultan. Okay, any question?
Thank you.
Okay, you will find, again, as I said, you will find this on Moodle as usual. Thank you very much for listening and for being with me. And I hope things will be okay with all of us for next time. I'll see you next week, inshallah. Okay, bye-bye.